Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over conditions and Boolean statements in Java. So in Java, we have multiple different conditional statements to execute to execute our program depending on a certain condition. So I'm going to go over them now. So we have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, equals to, or not equals to. And just so you understand, this is a comment here. Comments are a way of telling your program that this should not execute, this should not affect the program. This is just for programmers and people reading the code to understand. It will not actually affect the program at all. This is mainly just for code clarity and just to explain what your code is doing. So I'm just explaining to you for your understanding here. So these four are pretty self-explanatory. It's less than, so if a value is less than another value, if a value is greater than another value, check if a value is less than or equal to, check if a value is greater than or equal to. Then these two are equals to and not equals to. So you'll see that the equals to is actually a double equals. So don't get confused with the single equals, which is for assignment of variables. The double equals is to check for equality. So check if, say, 10 is equal to 12. That's what the double equals is for. And then the not equals is for checking if value are not equal to each other. So essentially the opposite. So let's just assign a variable, a Boolean, just so that to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So check Boolean. So let's do the first example of less than or equal to. So let's create a few variables here as well. So int x is equal to 5, and then int y is equal to, let's say, 7. And let's do one more just in case if we need it. So int z is equal to 2. So here what we can do is, let's do an example of less than or equal to, let's do an example of less than. So x is less than y. This is going to store a Boolean. Like we said, Booleans are true or false values. So here what this is doing is, okay, 5 is less than 7. That is true. So if we print out check Boolean, we're going to get true. And it's parsing. True. And then the same thing applies for greater than. So in this case, we're going to get false because it's saying 5 is greater than 7. We know that that's false. So when we print this out, we get false. I'll let this print out. There we are. Okay, and then really it's the same thing that applies for less than or equal to. So let's just make this 5 as well. So less than or equal to. So then if we print this, we'll get true because 5 is less than or equal to 5. Now let's use the equal sign, the equality operator. So let's check if two values are equal to each other. So let's change this back to 7. Okay, sorry about that. So let's check if these are equal to each other. So if we do equals equals, check Boolean, we'll know that this is false because 5 is not equal to 7. And then if we do something like, now if we just reverse it, if we do 5 is not equal to 7, then that's true, and we'll get true as we print it out to the console. Great, okay. Now, we can also do stuff like x plus z is greater than y. Now, this basically just says, whoops. This basically just says exactly what it sounds like. So x plus z, so 5 plus 2, is it greater than 7? No, it's not. 7 is not greater than 7, so we'll get false. And this is just a way of using arithmetic to check if a value, check conditionals, basically. And let's now do a little bit more complex. So now I'm also going to introduce the and or operators into our conditional statement. So let's go back to, let's do something like x plus y is greater or is less than, so is greater than z, and z is less than 1. So just so I can explain it correctly, so the double ampersand here, that is the Boolean statement for and. So in other words, what this says is this is one conditional statement here, and what it does is it does x plus y greater than z. So we have x plus y, so 5 plus 7 is equal to 12. Is that greater than 2? Yes, it is. But then what this AND operator does here is it says, okay, for this entire statement to be true, both conditions, so this condition here and this condition here, need to be true. So it's condition 1 and condition 2. If either of these are false, then this whole statement is false. So this basically says, okay, in order for me to be true, let's say, a truthy statement, both conditions need to be satisfied. It's the same thing in real life. You say this and this, then you're saying that in order for it to be true, both conditions need to be true. So in this case, this is true, as we said, and z, is it greater than 1? Is it less than 1? No, it's not. It is greater than 1. So this would turn out to be false. So if we print this, if we print check Boolean, we'll get false, because although this condition is met, this condition on the right is not met. And as you can see, we get false. Now, however, if I were to change this to greater than 1, then this would be true, because the left conditional on the left of the AND operator and the right conditional are both true. Therefore, it is true. The whole statement is true. Now, there's also the OR operator, and I'm not sure what this character here is called, but it is the OR operator. And the OR operator basically says it's not the same as the AND operator, but what it does is it only checks if any of the statements are true. So in this case, basically what we're saying is, okay, is 12 greater than 2? It is. Or is 2 greater than 1? So we're only looking for if any of the statements are true. Or, so if for this whole statement, if either this one or this one is true, then this whole statement is true. So I changed it back just so that it demonstrates a good example. Here, although this is false, this side is true. Therefore, because one side is true, we get true, and that's displayed here. And here to illustrate a more complex Boolean condition where we chain these conditionals together, what we can do is to check if this whole statement is true. When we're doing these complex conditionals, what we should do is bracket them just so that we're clear on what is executing and just so that we have clarity of our code. So one way we can look at this is, okay, so this one here, x plus y greater than z. Okay, so we know 5 plus 7 is greater than 2. So 12 is greater than 2. So we know this is true. Okay, and we go to this side. Okay, z greater than 1. Z less than 1. That's false. Z is not less than 1 because 2 is not less than 1. That's false. And then we go with this one here. So x does not equal y minus z. So a good way to think about the not operator, does not equal operator, is, okay, so this is saying 5 does not equal 7 minus 2. So 5 does not equal 5. So basically what we say here is, okay, so 5 is equal to 5. But because it's the not equals to, we basically just reverse it. We just flip it. So 5 is equal to 5 is true, but because this is not equals to, that true becomes false. So this is false. Now to actually look at this entire thing, what we can do is so we know this is true, and these two statements here. So false and false is obviously false. But because this is an or, remember, or just says, okay, what if one of these statements is true? If one statement on either side of this OR operator is true, then this whole condition becomes true. So if we print check Boolean, we will get true because this side is true. There we are. And if we were to do something like is equal to, whoops. And just to illustrate my point of ands, let's change this to and. So let's change this back to, let's do less than or greater than or equal to, just so we have more examples. So now, although this is true, remember, because this and operator is looking for both of these conditions to be true. So let's combine this all into one statement now. So this side is basically false. Okay, we already went over that. So true and false. A statement cannot be, the whole conditional is no longer true because true and false therefore becomes false. So if we print check Boolean, so a good way to think about this is this statement true? And is this statement true? Now I emphasize the and just so that we're clear on what this and means. It needs, both conditions need to be true, right? So if we do true and false, then we're going to get false. There we are. Now, there's one other operator that I forgot to mention here, and I'm going to use an example here to illustrate that. So if we have this statement here, x minus z is equal to y. So we know that 5 minus 2 is equal to 3, and 3 does not equal y. Okay, so if we were to print this out, this would get false. Now, the not operator, what it does is it essentially reverses the expression, the outcome of the expression. So we know this is false, but if we do not false, what's the opposite of false? True. So what this does is it just flips the entire expression. So if we were to print this out, now we would get true because we're saying 3 does not equal 7. That is true. And then we get true. And we obviously can do this with more complex statements. So let's do let's have one big expression. So something like this. And y is greater than 12. Okay, so what this does is, like we said, so we know this statement here, whoops, we know this statement here is false, okay? And then we say, okay, is y greater than, is 7 greater than or equal to 12? No, that is also false, okay? And we know here, false and false is both false. So if we have two false values, then false and false is obviously false. However, because we use the not operator here, we flip the expression. So now false and false, let's make this clear. This whole statement here is false. But because we have not, this flips it. Sorry, this flips it, and we get true. So if we print this out, we get true. There we are. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this Java video on Booleans and conditionals. I'm trying to improve the flow of my videos just so that there's no unnecessary cuts, so please be patient with me there. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'd love to answer your questions in the comments down below. The next video we'll be going over is if and else statements in Java. So I'll see you guys then. Take care.